Hello and welcome. Okay, so the playlist we're going to be using today is playlist number 4. And that first song is Sacral Healing Drums, and we'll get started with it. Count off 5, 4, 3, 2, and you can press start. Okay. So today's practice is perspective, which is one of the things that I have recognized with yoga has made the biggest difference in my life. And perspective is something we have, and we usually have one, but there are so many different perspectives compared to where you're standing. So, we see one thing and we think this is what it is. To the point of, like, if you look at your finger with one eye, it's like it's right there. And then you look with the other eye, it's like, hey, it's moved. This is 2 different perspectives. In our practice, we're going to notice it in different ways that we do the same kind of work. So let's get started on our backs. So come on down to the floor. And lie yourself down. And just take a moment to settle in, to let go. And if it's been a busy day, take in your awareness slowly. Start off by just feeling yourself in the room, breathing. Notice where you're situated in the room. Is it right in the center? Is it off to the side? Find everything with your eyes closed. And just focus in on that breath. Inhaling, exhaling through the nose if possible. And we'll start to narrow our awareness more to feeling ourselves on our mats. And notice as we kind of rein in that awareness, we start to feel more of ourselves breathing. And then we'll go right inside. So even the way we may breathe may be different in the sense of notice where you're feeling that breath. Where does it show up the most? So it could be in your nose, could be in the throat, could be in the chest, in the belly. Now it's all of those places. It's just where our perspective of the breath might be at the moment. Notice that you can change it. So if I say now take your awareness and feel the breath moving in and out of the belly, it's kind of not a hard thing to picture or to. So perspective with our eyes is one thing. Now we see one thing, somebody else will see another. The learning of how another person perceives something is mind expanding. I love that. Also, the way we perceive certain feelings in our bodies. Are they good feelings? Are they bad feelings? That's something that is also kind of manufactured in our lives, right? How we view things is a product of what we've seen, how we were raised, what our issues, our benefits are, whatever. For example, there are some people that, the feeling of getting stronger is an awesome feeling. And for others, it's a horrible feeling. Our practice today is going to be understanding that we have one perspective and that there could be another, and see if we can expand ourselves to that other. So let's get going. So let's stretch our legs out, stretch your arms up over the head. Then you can stretch really long to the right side. Stretch really long to the left. You can hold on to your wrist, reaching it away from the foot. We'll move to the first side again, maybe add a little side bend. Take 3 breaths. Come back to center. And stretch to the second side again, lengthening through the other side with a few breaths. Excellent. Coming back to center. We're gonna bend our knees now. The heels of the hands or maybe the fists and just press it into the tops of the thigh bones. And pull the thigh bones kind of away a little bit from the inner, the hip sockets, and then drop the shoulders down to the floor and just start to create a little space in the pelvis. You can do it one leg at a time, you're kind of moving from side to side a little bit, or you can do both if that feels okay, if it's not too much work through the hands. And then just start to add a little bit of pelvic tilting back and forth. We press the tailbone down into the floor, the lower back lifts up off the mat. As we lift the pelvis up or the tailbone up towards the knees, the lower back flattens. A few more times. Beautiful. And then we're going to press that lower back into the floor as we draw the knees to the chest. And start to inch the hips a little forward. Beautiful. Flatten that low back to the floor. We're going to hold on to just the right thigh and we'll stretch that left leg out straight. And that left leg can stay lifted or you can release it to the mat. You can even bend it. And then start to feel everything hug into the midline. Start to feel long here. As you breathe, notice how the breath kind of rises and falls on that right thigh if it's in that close. And just start to move that knee a little bit from side to side. To the left, to the right. So we're moving through our bodies with the mind's eye of an explorer. And if you think of your body as a boat, if you're exploring uncharted territories, you want to slow it down. The way we can keep our boat safe all the time is noticing our breath. So if we are breathing, very, very rarely will we move into very rocky territory. So keep that breath front and center as you move. We're going to stretch that leg up towards the sky. We're going to slide the hands down to the as low down as they can go, and then create some traction by pressing the leg into the hand and then pulling the leg back up with the hands. Hug the outer hips towards each other. Soften the collarbones down, and let's add a little bit of movement through that ankle, pressing the heel up towards the ceiling, toes to the face, and then toes up towards the ceiling, and back and forth a few times. All right, so that feeling as you move into that stretch through the heel, noticing that big stretch to the back side of the legs, is a perfect example of perspective. So some people will say, ooh, that's a horrible feeling, and they back off. For me, it's a place where I'll move into slowly, just to feel it out. Just to breathe into it, to see if I can change it a little. Let's add a little circle through that ankle, 10 in one direction. 9, 10, and then in the opposite direction, trying to make that circle nice and round through the toes. Just oiling up that joint with a little synovial fluid. Beautiful. All right, we're going to draw that knee back into the chest. And then we're going to take those arms up over the head as we stretch the legs straight. You can also take them out into a T if the arms over the head doesn't feel comfortable. And then keeping the belly button tucked into the spine and the side of the waist, pressing down to keep our backs nice and secure. We'll take that right leg forward about 4 inches. Hold. Another 4 inches. Hold. Keep lengthening out to the big toe mound. Another 4 and hold. And then a little bit more. Try to find that spot where the muscles of the thighs start to feel activated. And hold and lengthen. And notice if the rest of the body is starting to change or, morph into something different as this pose becomes a little bit more work in the leg. You may have to bring it down a little bit more until you feel just a little bit of extra sensation. And it's that extra sensation that in this particular pose we're waiting for to feel the effort of those thigh muscles, those calf muscles hugging to the bone. Beautiful. And then let's point that toe. We're going to do some circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Other way. Excellent. Now we'll start to bend that knee back into the chest. Notice that relief through the leg. And then we'll bring it down. And before we switch to the second side, love the sensation of noticing that the right leg always feels a little longer after spending some time with it. Also notice that it may feel a little bit more relaxed on the mat. I'm going to take that left leg up, draw it in, and we'll give it a hug. So here again, that right leg can be bent, so keeping that low back flat to the floor. It can be straight, it can be lifted. That's up to you. As we hug the left leg in, we hug the other hips in. And we breathe, feeling that belly rise and fall maybe on that inner thigh. If not, that's where we're heading towards eventually. Shoulders are dropped down, collarbones wide. We can start to bring that knee from side to side, back and forth. Bring that leg back up through center. We're going to stretch that leg up towards the sky. And then slide the hands down as close to the floor as possible, and then create that traction by pressing and pulling and pushing. Collarbones still wide. Moving the point, getting the stretch to the top of the front of the leg, and then to the back, and back and forth. You want to be like me and lean into the one that needs a little bit more, feels a little bit more intense. Go for it, hold for an extra breath or two. And then we'll add the circles, rounding in one direction 10 times. And then the other way. Excellent. All right, from here, trying to bring that low back down to the floor, which is not necessary if you've got really strong core. It's just a really good way of keeping that feeling good. And you can release the arms either up over the head or out to the side. As we bring that leg down about 4 inches, hold. Lengthen, another 4. And then again, another 4 until you find that spot with like, oh, there's work involved here. And we want to stay in that work for a moment or two, lengthening and feeling those muscles hugging to the bones as the leg gets a little longer. Noticing that as we build up some strength in our upper body, you can almost feel the sensation of effort moving into the upper body where it's not necessary, so constantly letting it go. And we'll do some circles with that leg. 3, 4, 5 in one direction, and then the other direction. 5, 4. And beautiful. Draw that knee in. I'm going to draw both knees in. And just start to inch those hips a little bit forward. We're gonna move into our core now, which is gonna make, again, if you like it or dislike it, you'll notice it quickly. So drop the shoulders into the back here, and then as you press the low back into the floor, almost feeling as if the sides, the waist are pinning to the floor, the thighs move slightly away. We're gonna take that right arm, we're gonna reach up and over our head as we stretch the left leg away. As we come back through center, we're trying not to move our other arm and leg until we come back to the second side. And back. And we're gonna do 5 more sets like that. So always pinning one of the movements to one side of the breath, pinning the other movement to the other side of the breath. I tend to inhale on my way down, and I exhale, bringing the arms back up. But you can try both. See which one works better for you. Got 2 more sets here. Because I lost track, and I think this is 5, it could be 6. Here's our last set. Beautiful. So we'll start to feel that abdominal area warm up. One of the things that changes our perspective is the stories that we tell ourselves about what we're doing. So let's try one more. You're going to see that right arm, left leg stretching. And this time we're doing the same leg 5 times. Elbow and knee together, squeeze, inhale, stretch away. So we're here telling ourselves, oh my God, this sucks, I hate this, it's hurting, I'm getting warm, I feel my pores opening, I feel like I'm sweating, yeah. That's the story that's gonna change or alter the sense of what we're doing. But if we sit there thinking, I'm building strength, I'm only moving as far as I feel comfortable moving, beautiful, and then we'll come back to center, come up. Hold your tabletop, drop the shoulders, take a moment. Then that's gonna change the way that this pose feels in you as well. We'll take the left arm, right leg, reach. And together. 4. 3. 2. And 1, beautiful. Excellent, coming back up into this tabletop position. From here, we're gonna open up our arms and legs like we're opening up a book. And then we're coming back up into position number 1. We'll do that a few times. Open. And close. 3. And close. I even find that if you, as you open the leg, imagine that as you're closing them through cement. That's going to make the muscles feel like they're working even more. We'll do 2 more like that, just for the fun of it. Squeeze. And last one. Excellent. So for this next one, we're going to bring our hands onto our knees. We're just going to do some really big knee circles away from each other. Excellent. Other way. And then we'll take our hands behind the leg and just start a little rolling up on your spine. That feels good, coming all the way up to seated. And we'll sit up nice and tall. Okay. We're going to do another set of those. And this time we're going to do it opposite. So again, if you have knee issues, you're going to want to stay in that very same pose because it's no different than what we're doing, except there's no work on the knees. But before we move into that, let's just build a little strength to our hip flexors a little bit. So the first thing I want you to come into is a straight leg position. I'm going to take off my socks now because we're almost at that point where we can. You guys already have your socks on ahead of me. And I want you to find, you can start with your hands on the floor, coming into like a Dandasana pose. A position where you feel, again, the spine in that same straight line as when it was on the floor. So there's still the curves in the spine. Low back draws in, the curve in the neck is still there. But now we have to work a little harder to hold it. And we're going to bend our knees a little bit, and we're going to bring our right knee in, and then bring it out. In and out. So notice here if the body starts to shrink, collapse. So and then if you can do it without the hands, that makes it a little bit more challenging. Excellent. Now we'll leave that one to do 5 on the other side. Give that leg a little break. 2. 3. Starting to feel the hip flexors? Yeah. So this is just a way of building up the strength so we can do Navasana. Now we're going to come back in. Now we're going to take that right leg out to the side. And we'll do the same leg on the other side. So we'll do left and right, and just kicking that sock out of the way. Left and right. We'll do 2 more steps. So we think about this pose, this is like, again, perspective, right? We're thinking, oh my God, this is hard, my hip flexors are killing me. This is a core exercise. We just forget about it because there's something more going on here. So I think that's kind of neat. Let's bring the soles of the feet together. You can walk use your hands to roll you a little closer coming into bound angle. And then just give yourself a little hold, sitting up nice and tall. If it feels okay and you want to take this a little further, you can either round yourself forward, coming into a little back stretch, or you can hinge from the hips and reach the heart forward, coming into more of a inner thigh stretch. Do whatever makes sense to you. Good. And then we're going to come back up, and you can shake out the legs. So our second variation of the poses we just did is on hands and knees. If that doesn't work, you're back on your back. As we come back into the tabletop position, either forward or backwards. I always like to have a little blanket here for my knees, so I'm taking advantage of it. And here again, coming into a tabletop position. Interesting to see if you can find in this pose the first pose we did on the floor. So does that make sense to you? Can you feel that the back is on the mat? Back of the head is on the mat, hip bones are on the floor. We're going to take our right arm and our left leg, we're going to stretch them out. We're going to inhale, lift them up, then exhale them. Let's do 5 of those. And we'll hold it up. Now keeping the hip level, elbow and knee towards each other. We'll do 5 of these. 2. 3. 4. 5. Beautiful. So we'll keep that head up, but we'll bend bring our hand back to the floor, and we'll spin myself around so you can see. I'm going to bend that left leg. And here again, we're going to open up that hip to the side, just like we did with our pose, thinking about opening the legs like a book. Exhale, draw that book to close. And open. And close. So if you are on your back, you can still do this both legs if you want. 3. Because the weight is not as heavy on the arms. 4. And 5. Beautiful, let's sweep that leg back behind us, toes pointed, and it circles. 3 in one direction. And 3 in the other. Beautiful, let's stretch it a little break, we'll take that knee forward, so if you're lying on your back, just bring your knee to your chest. And stretch the other leg straight, and if you are in this upper position, you can come into a little pigeon prep as you just rock the legs a little bit from side to side. Beautiful. Plant the hands again, step back. You can stretch yourself up for downward facing dog. As we move to the second side, dropping the knees back to the floor. And we'll start with the left leg, right arm. Stretching them away. Step down. And up. 2, belly in. Lengthening from tail through head. Heart melting. Down towards the floor so the collarbones will widen. And hold. Elbow and knee together. 5. 4. 3. And here's our last one in this one. Stretch out, we'll take that hand back down towards the floor. We'll bend that knee, we'll open that hip up. And then we'll close it like a inhale, open. And exhale. A few more like that. And last one. We'll take that foot up behind us, point the toe, and it circles. 3 in one direction. And 3 in the other. Beautiful. We'll slide that leg forward, or you'll draw that knee into your chest if you're still on your back. Coming into this little soft pigeon prep. Just rocking yourself a little bit from side to side. Excellent. All right. We'll place our hands back down on the floor. We'll curl the toes under. Let's all meet up and down facing dog. And as you come into this pose, a very familiar pose, notice where the mind goes when something's really familiar. Sometimes goes into this place of like, this is nice. A lot of times, because it's so familiar, just shut off. There's no need to think here. But let's think again about how our hands are positioned, how our feet are positioned. That energetic line pressing down to the floor, lifting the thighs and hips up and back. That energetic opposite action of the wrists and forearms kind of bouncing forward to make this a little bit lighter. We'll start to walk our hands forward towards our feet. And then we'll bend our knees a little bit and fold over those. You can hold on to the elbows and hold them apart. And then release the arms as you press down to those feet will start to come up, either rolling up, flat back up, whatever makes sense in your body. Stretch those arms up over. Excellent. Hands are coming to the heart. And then lift that heart up into the hands again, so the position of the body changes slightly. And then we'll release the hands as we settle for a second in our mountain poses. Just to feel. Notice the sensation of opening the palms up as a way, a gesture of like giving of yourself. But also open up, noticing the sensation of receiving. And what do you need more at this moment? All right, let's move into some sun salutations. We'll lift those arms up, palms together, inhaling. And as we exhale, we'll fold again any way that feels nice. Lengthening into your flat back. We'll place the hands back down, we'll step that right leg back. And for this first one, you can use blocks here, so I'm gonna grab my blocks. And have your blocks line up with your ankle, so that your heart is not, if your arms are forward, your heart's in the back side of the body. When your hands are back, your heart is lifted. Start to inch that right foot back so that the foot is sole of the foot is parallel to the front shin. And then start to pull the legs towards each other. So again, we're moving into that hip flexor that was strengthened before. And just play here a little bit. You can, as you have that boundary of the legs coming towards each other and a softness to the back of the neck, the back of the heart, you can just explore a little bit of movement from side to side. You can bend that back knee and straighten it. Beautiful. And then you can start to begin to straighten that front leg and see how that feels. Now here again, we want to feel the collarbones start to soften away from each other. Maybe you can drop that back heel towards the floor as we lift the front toes up. And here we notice, what does this feel like? And then the stories that go with that feeling. Whatever, you can feel it, oh, this feels really good, it's a good stretch, or oh, I hate this, it's a stretch. Just notice. All right, we're gonna roll ourselves back forward, plant that front leg, step plant the hands to the floor, step that left leg back, and we're gonna plank pose. You can tap your knees down here. We're gonna lean ourselves a little forward. And as we lengthen out from heel and head, we bend the elbows to slowly and control our way to the mat. Take your arms wide forward to begin. Feel the shoulders rounding up and around, find the shoulder curl. And then start to roll yourself up into little baby cobra. And then maybe a little bit higher. And then a little higher. Pull the hands back as you roll yourself back down. Slide the hands in just a little bit and let's pull up 3 times. Inhale up. And exhale. Inhale up. And up. Last one. As we come back down, slide the hands back. Press hands and knees or hands and toes into the floor as you lift yourself up and slide yourself back into downward facing dog. Once again, notice your hands, your feet, how you can grow in this pose, what you can discover here, as opposed to just shutting off, I'm in dog. As we inhale, we're going to look forward, we're going to take that right foot forward, find our blocks again, start to inch that left leg back in space a little bit, pull the legs towards each other, and start to move around any way that feels right, any way that you can get some new little understanding about your body. Beautiful. Once we've got this area done, then we can start to straighten the legs. That feels okay. Drop the left heel, melt the heart. Lift up the toes a little bit more. Beautiful. One more breath. And then we're going to bend that front leg back again. You can walk your blocks a little higher. Press into the right foot and fold over both legs. Press down into the mat, lengthen into a flat back here, inhaling. Exhale, roll back down. And then roll yourself up. Keep rooting. And then rise up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Or to the hands, inhale. Keep the heart lifted, release your hands. Exhale. Let's do it again. Lengthening up, palms together. Exhale, we'll fold. Flat back on the inhale. We'll take the left leg back this time. And if you feel like it, this time you can take the arms off the floor and make this into a balance. And here you'll start to notice that concentration of effort in that right glute. The more we pull that right shin back, the more effort goes into that. And we want to think about creating some strength through the quad muscles, through the calf muscles to hold that knee in place. Keep rooting down through that right heel as we sweep up into a lunge. From here, we're going to exhale, bend elbows, open up a little bit. And feel the heart beginning to rise. Lifting up away from those hips. And then we're going to bring the arms a little closer as we lift them up over the head. Beautiful. One more breath here. Exhale, release the hands to the floor. Step back. Plank pose. Lean forward. Knees can be down on the floor. We'll lower ourselves to the mat. Move the shoulders this time without moving the hands. Can you roll up into a cobra comfortably? Exhale, roll back. Press the hands and toes or hands and knees into the floor, lift up. And it's down. What's something new we can learn here? So one of the ways you can learn things is by doing different things. So let's lift our toes up. We're going to roll to the outside of our right foot, inside of our left. And then we press into both hands, reaching both hips back, so changing the sensation to the waist. Notice where the tension builds. Can you release it? So for me, it's my neck and shoulders. I have to constantly remind myself to stop shrugging. Could be something different with you. You can find it. Let's lift back up. Move to the second side, dropping the left outer heel, right inner as you pull the hips back in space. Both arms equally rooted into the mat. And breathe. Beautiful. We're going to roll ourselves back up. Look forward. We'll take our left leg forward. And we'll make our way into a lunge pose without hands. So your hands can be up off the floor. They can be holding on to your shin. They can also still be down on blocks. So another perspective change that I love to think about is when doing things, do we celebrate what we can do, or do we punish ourselves for the things that we can't? So be mindful of that. It's an interesting one. Most of the time, we're much more punishing. So let's make our way up. And that's something that we feed. So that's something when it does happen, just notice it and go now. And change it right away. Reverse, like, no, I can't do that one, but I can do this instead. And that's where we're going to be. So we'll bend those elbows again, open that chest. Feel the heart being pulled up as the hips drop down. And then the elbows come in a little bit. So as you raise those arms up over the head, there's not a feeling of tension in the neck or shoulders. Beautiful. As we exhale, we'll bring those hands back down to the floor. Step that back leg forward. And make it into a flat back. And release that. Press into the leg as we come up. Can be rounded or flat back, whatever makes sense. Exhale, hands to your heart. So we're going to move through one sun, one now, the Ashtanga version. So if it doesn't work, you don't give the option to, again, celebrate what works. We're going to inhale, lift up. As we exhale, we're holding, and maybe it's with a flat back this time. Hinging from the hips, we lengthen into a flat back. Hands can be up at the shins. From here, we bend our knees, place our hands to the floor, and step into plank or hop into chaturanga. Whatever makes sense to you. Now you can come to the floor here and come up to cobra, or you can roll yourself up to upper dog. And it's downward facing dog. We'll hold here for 5 breaths. Try not to shut off. Try and find length and space and strength and calmness all in the same spot. We'll lift up our heels nice and high. Exhale, bend the knees, look forward, make your way to the front. Lengthen into a flat back here. And as we exhale, we'll fold. Press into the floor, let's come up. And exhale, we're bringing our hands to our heart. Heart to the hands as we inhale. Release the hands, exhale. Let's bend our knees now. And sit ourselves back as we come into Sun 2 or Sun B, the Ashtanga series. Pulling the tailbone and the hands away from each other as we sit back is giving me this feeling that I can stay here longer, as opposed to just feeling the weight drop down. It's that lift up and that tug of war that keeps my mind focused. Exhale, we'll fold forward. Lengthening through flat back. And then your vinyasa. So it can be different than the last one you did, or it can be exactly the same. Just make sure that when you're doing it, you're involved there. I'm going to take our right leg forward. I'm going to spin myself so you can see. Spin that left heel to the midline. Take that right hand, wrap it around to the left hip, and reach that left arm forward. Now feel that left heel anchored. And then start to bend a little bit more into that right leg. Keep reaching that right knee forward, pressing into that right heel as you lift yourself up. Beautiful. From here, release that right arm. And we're in Warrior One. Beautiful. 2 more breaths. And we'll move on the exhale back through your vinyasa. Can again be different as long as you stay present. To the left side, Warrior One. Left hand wraps around. Right arm reaches forward, anchoring that right foot. So keep bending that left knee as you make your way up. That left hand keeps the hip facing forward. You can release it once we're up. We'll bring those palms together. Beautiful. Exhale back down. And go through one more set of the Warrior Ones. Inhale up through Vinyasa. Exhale, Downward Dog. Right leg comes forward, left heel to the midline. You don't need the hip now because it knows where to go. And back down to the floor. And through. All right, left leg. And then back down. Nice. So you can come into Downward Dog now, or you can come into Child's Pose. We'll take 3 breaths here. And what we're looking for, again, we're trying to tire ourselves out a little bit because our perspective changes when we're tired. Our perspective changes when we're hungry. When we're happy, when we're sad, everything changes because, you know, that's just the way it is. So it's something to be mindful of. All right, so we're going to do one more. Actually, let's just take that right leg, reach it forward. And bring it to the thumb as we make our way up into lunge. And I should have said, let's have our blocks at the front of our mats. From here, we're gonna bring our hands to blocks. And we're gonna make our way up into warrior three. And you can walk your hands a little forward. You can rise yourself up into your back, feels nice and straight, and you're lengthening the crown of the head with heel away from each other. And then feel the collarbones getting wide away from each other so the heart melts. So let's try one more variation of that what you're doing, taking that right arm forward, left leg back. You can soften through that standing leg, elbow and knee come together. Inhale, stretching away. And in. And loose. Out. In. And out. Hold. Take that hand back down to the floor. We're going to open up our left hip to the left. So feel the right buttock tuck under, that left hip will open up. And then let that hip look back down towards the floor. Inhale, we open that hip up, kind of coming into a basically a warrior, a half moon position, but without the hands and down. One last time, open. And close. Bend that knee, point the toe, big circles. 1, and 2, and 3. Switch direction. 3, and 2, and 1. Beautiful. Draw that knee in towards the nose, round in. Want to stretch that leg back. Plant it to the floor, making your way into warrior 2. Palms facing up, a little softness to the shoulders, maybe a little holding on to something in your hand. So if you have like marbles in your hand, a couple of them, or trying not to let go of them. Pull the legs towards each other. Make sure that front knee is tracking the center of the foot. I'll turn around. And then let's start to let go of those marbles, dropping them down to the floor. Stretch the wrists. Curl the fingers back in, turn the palms to face out, and press the palms away. Nice. Drop the back hand, lift that top arm up. We'll start to straighten our front leg as we come into a reverse triangle. And then there's a little break. We'll come up and over and into triangle pose. So that's my perspective. I think of triangle pose as a break. Now you anchor that back leg down. You can even think of pressing from the top of the hip down into that foot. And that's going to lengthen the crown of the head a little bit more forward. Notice if you feel the top ribs kind of spiking up, and can you drop them down a little bit? Beautiful. Can you feel space between the arms? Beautiful. Bend that front knee, making our way back up through warrior 2. We'll unplug that back heel as we come forward into a lunge. And then we're going to make our way back down to the floor and through a vinyasa. All meet up in downward dog. Take a nice big inhale. And let it go through the mouth. Do that one again. The more vocal you can sound, the more you can let go. All right, left leg's going to come forward now. Inhale up through a lunge. And then we're exhaling in the hands to the blocks. And taking that right leg up and away. Reach out to the heel, lengthen out to the crown of the head. Collarbones stay wide. And start to take that left arm and reach it forward. Exhale, elbow and knee come together. We squeeze. Inhale, we reach it away. Go. You can see and work from the opposite direction. Beautiful, one last one like this. And then we'll take the hand back down to the floor. Open up that hip, so feel the left buttock step under so the right hip looks out to the right. And then just spin back down. Inhale up. And exhale down. Last time. Beautiful, we're gonna bend that right knee. And then it's nice big circles in one direction. Make sure that the left leg is not locked. There's some, some freedom in it, opposite direction through that right knee. Beautiful, we're drawing nose into knee, round in. Stretch it back behind us, plant it to the floor. Make your way up, warrior two. Okay, so again, drop the shoulders down. If you cup your hands, I love this one, this is the JP. If you cup your hands as if you've got like something in it, blueberries, marbles, raspberries, strawberries, right? And you want to hold on to them, but you also want to offer them out. All of a sudden you're working not so much up into the shoulder and jaw area, but more into the arms, which is really where you want them. The spilling of the strawberries then is just a great stretch of the wrist. And then feeling, turning the palms to face out is another way of stretching the wrists. Drop the back hand, we'll take that top arm up and over. And start to straighten our front leg, big stretch here. Nice, and then it's an up and over to triangle pose. We feel that right leg or that back leg anchored, lengthening the torso a little bit more forward and up. Soften to the face. Feel that expanse, that openness to the whole front and back side of the body. Excellent. We'll bend that front knee again as we make our way back up. Unplug that back heel coming through a high lunge. And then we'll make our way back down to the floor. And through one last remaining step. Stopping or coming down into either half pose or downward dog. You can also do child's pose. Again, same pose on your back. So we have to constantly or continually remind ourselves that we are here to celebrate ourselves, our bodies, and what we can do, as opposed to get upset with the things that we can't. If we come up against something that doesn't work, some kind of obstacle, expand the mind. Let your perspective of what's going on change it. What if I tried this version, or what if I do this way? And see if that works. All right, so from here, let's bend our knees, look forward, we'll make our way back to the front of the mat. Lengthen into a flat back and fold. Walk your feet together, we're gonna sit back down and into Uttanasana. Hands and tailbone reaching away from each other, shoulders dropping down away from the ears. Pull the shins back. Feel the inner thigh spit back a little bit. Let's add a twist here, taking the right elbow to the left knee. And notice here how the hips want to swing out to the right. Keep them reaching back. And then again, tailbone and head lengthen away as you look up towards that left elbow. Pull the shins back a little bit more. If you want, you can take that right arm down towards the floor, lifting that left arm up. Beautiful, bring those hands back together. Inhale, we'll sweep up through Uttanasana. If you want to take a break here, keep lifting, stretch. And then we'll come back down into Uttanasana. And then make the way into Uttanasana with the twist to the second side. Take that left arm down, reach that right arm up for a twist if you want more. Don't if you don't. If it's too much, then come back to what feels right. We'll sweep up to Uttanasana again. And then we'll come hands to heart, heart to hands. Keep that heart lifted up into the hands, and then you can release them. And just take a moment here in your mountain pose again, that mountain moment. That sensation of both giving and receiving. Notice which one you need more of now and use it for your benefit. So if you're feeling a little, that was a lot of work, take a moment here and breathe in. Feel empowered. If you're feeling all energized by all that work, allow yourself to emit some of it so that someone who needs it, some of it is there. And just know that when we share, it only gets stronger within us. All right, so we're going to walk our feet together. We're going to make our way into a balance pose. We're going to press into the left leg. And this, again, I love the weighting of the leg. So press into the left. Here you can feel the inner thigh and the left leg root down. Or you can focus on the inner thigh of the right leg, lightening up and lifting. Hold on to the outside of the, or slide your hand down, hold on to the foot. And then bring your left arm up. We're coming into dancer pose. So making sure that the standing knee is soft. You don't want to lock that knee, and if balance isn't great, you're going to face a wall. So as you face the wall, you're kind of reaching towards the wall, knowing it's there, and that you can touch it at any time, but also knowing that at this moment you may not need it. And here, we're trying to embody this graceful dancer. We'll try to keep the knees towards each other. So if my knees were to drop, both knees would still be together. My right knee would not be out to the side. It's just drawing backwards. And lift that heart up into the hand in the air. Beautiful. To come back out of it, nice and slowly, with grace still, we lift that leg back up. We draw it into the chest and drop that outer right hip down. Again, just softening through that standing leg. Then to slowly switch, I want you to feel the weight in that left leg, and then start to bring that right leg down, let it touch the floor. And then start to notice as you put more weight into it, how the shift begins to happen through both legs. And then all of the weight into one leg. We take that left leg and lift it up. And hug it into the chest. You can feel the outer hips hug towards each other. Lift the heart. So with this one, always just keeping sure that we're not locking that leg. This is bad for the knees and who needs that. And it's just a habit. Kind of makes things a little bit easier, even though it doesn't. I'm going to slide that left leg back behind, tuck the knees together, or reach that right arm up. And then start to reach the heart towards the hand, and lift that foot up. So remember these poses, we're not trying to do the most that we can, right? We're not trying to, see how high the leg can lift, see if we can touch the hand before. It's about finding, grace in this pose for me. Balance, grace, finding your breath, finding a calm mind that is not littered with, shoot, I'm all over the place here, I can't keep my balance here. So we hold it for a second, we hold on to a wall. And one day, eventually, that finger can just come off the wall. As we come off, we're going to come out of this, we bring that leg back, we draw it forward and hug it in. Beautiful. And then we'll slowly bring it back down to the floor, exchanging from one leg into two. Excellent. All right, let's make our way to the floor. So I like to make it down through a squat. You can make it down if knees don't feel great. Just come to the floor, and the fact that you made it to the floor is an awesome thing. If you want to try it Without hands, we come through a squat here, we come through Malasana, so big stretch through the shoulders. You can take your hands onto the inside and lengthen. Sit up nice and tall here. See if you can hold this pose, just pressing into the heels and lifting the sideways up a little bit. And then all the way down, full forward. Take another few breaths here, just settling in. And then we're going to come up. We're going to plant our feet. If you want to use your blocks here for a bridge pose, feel free. If you don't want to use your blocks here, don't. As we start to slowly roll ourselves down, noticing what that spot where it feels like you've lost all control. Stay there for a second. No, you haven't lost all control. Just and then keep going, press into the feet a little bit more. And then all the way down, give yourself a good stretch. Stretch to the right side. And stretch to the left side. Okay, bending your knees. We'll start off with just a little upper back bend, so a little robot. So you can either hold on to the edge of the mat and fold the shoulder blades together, lifting the heart, or you can take your arms into this little robot position, palms facing each other, fingers up. And lift, just lift the upper back. So trying to lift the collarbones, the shoulder blades off the mat. And as the heart starts to lift up and come towards the chin is actually lifting up kind of away from that heart. So feel all that opening to the back of the chest and breathe into that space. Take a nice big inhale through the back side of the shoulder blade. And see if you can feel the energy of the breath moving out to the front of the chest. One more like that. All right, from here, keep the upper back lifted. And you can soften it for a second, but keeping that thick, that foundation of back bend in the upper back, we're going to press into the feet and lift the hips up. So you have the option of sliding to blocks underneath your sacrum. And resting on that sacrum, so the tailbone's reaching forward, you can still hold on to the side of the mat, or you can interlace the hands together with the blocks, go for it. Or if you want, bring it without the blocks, and making it still a little bit more, a lot more active. So if you're here without the blocks, just be mindful that we tend to press our pelvis forward, so soften it. Feel your feet drawing back towards you, feel the knees softening or moving away. If you're not on blocks and you want to take a rest, sit on your arms for a second, and a little upper back bend again here. You can walk your feet a little closer now as we come up. We'll do one last one here. And if you want to lift up that right leg to the sky, you can. And that's it either. If you've got the blocks, then of course you can do this. It's a lot easier. If you don't have the blocks, and this is a challenge. I'm not going to lie. Open that down. Okay, so we're going to release our hands. As we release our hands, if you've got your hands, you can also release the blocks underneath you. Keep pressing the back of the head on the floor so the neck is off. And we'll lift those arms up. Beautiful. As we exhale, let's roll our hands and our spines back down towards the mat. Inhale, we'll roll back up. Exhale down. And inhale. Last time. Exhale down. And keep the hands pressing into the floor, low back to the floor. We'll lift those knees to the chest and give them a hug. And here, if you want, you can just inch those hips a little bit forward again. Beautiful. We'll stretch those legs up towards the sky. We'll add one little hip stretch. So we'll just take that right leg on top and bend it, cross it in front of the left. And then bend the left knee, and you can have both legs in. Then hold on behind the thighs, in front of the calves, or the feet. Pressing the inner heels away. And you'll notice here, even though it's challenging to play with the legs, that as you play with them, you're moving deeper into those hips. Beautiful. Inhale, we'll stretch those legs back up. Cross the other leg on top and come down into this Gandakasana on our backs. Beautiful. Inhale, let's lift those legs back up. We'll take the legs out wide. And then we'll bend the knees, either holding onto the backs of the legs, the ankles, or the feet as we make our way into happy baby. And here, happy babies don't lie still. They move. Beautiful. Let's drop our feet to the floor as wide as the mat. And stretch the arms up over the head or again into a T position as you just start to winch your way with the legs to one side. Big stretch, hold for a breath or two. Inhale, come back up. And to the second side. Coming back up, you can do a little bit more windshield wavering, or you can stop on the first side again for a little bit. Coming back up, dropping those knees together, coming into constructive breath, just taking a moment to be here. And notice if there's any last moves that you want to do. There's one that just came up for me that I would like to add a little fish pose. So I'm going to reach my legs forward. I'm going to take my hands to the sides of my thighs. I'm going to press into the forearm as I roll up the chest and look back behind me. Here I'm going to bring the bottom lip over the top. And maybe you can silently scream at the wall behind me. Just to move my facial features a little bit more. Beautiful. And then you can lower back down. And if there's any last poses that you want to do again, feel free, or you can start to make your way to the mat or Shavasana. If you feel like sitting up for meditation, feel free to do that as well. So as we remember that yoga is more than just a physical practice, and we're here not only to expand through our bodies, but through our minds, we have to start to pay attention to other people's perspectives, even maybe our own. But throughout Shavasana now, as we settle down, or in meditation, we allow our bodies to completely drop all the energy that we've just created in them. And we feel with each exhale a little bit more of that weight descending down, either through the backside of the body or through the bottom of the body, whatever makes sense. We notice that we have the ability, now that our body's been sensitized by all this motion, that we can feel the breath, or the sensation of the breath, excuse me, expand through each and every cell. So as we inhale, notice your hands, and as you inhale, notice that you may even feel some type of sensation of opening or expansion with that inhale, and a softening or a dropping on the exhale, and move through the body that way, through the rest of the arms, through the shoulders, through the hips. Notice that sensation down through your legs, your calves. Feel the weight of the body dropping down through the heels. Notice a broadening through your chest and a broadening through all your facial features as you inhale, and a full release as you exhale. So just like in the story of the two wolves, all of these perceptions are within us. The perspectives of anger, of fear, of remorse, of grief, of love, of grace, of excitement, knowledge, wisdom. It's all there. We tend to constantly move towards the same ones each time, because we're human and that's what our brains do. But we can learn to feed others, and our mats are a safe space to do that. As we come to the end of practice, just begin by, without changing anything, once again, focus all that attention on your breath. Noticing you on your mat. Start to feel more and more energy drawing into you, animating through your body, feeling energy kind of pouring through your arms and your legs, and then you can start to move them. Start to notice you on your mat as you start to stretch and yawn. Noticing with this little hour and a half of spending time inside, that even as we expand our awareness to not only you, but you on your mat, and eventually you in this room, that focus is still very much centered. And then as you begin to stretch and yawn in every way that feels good, just notice how nice it feels. Take a little bit of time on your side. And you're moving from out of the practice to something different. gain a new perspective here on how the practice made you feel. And then we'll make our way up and we'll all meet our hands at our heart and our heart up into our hands. Here as we begin our shift into gratitude, as we take that really lovely afterglow of practice that makes our bodies feel so good, we start to build. It's like building a fire. So we've got in our kindling, or it's actually our small pieces of wood, because it's more than just kindling what we've created. But we start to throw on new things, gratitude. So take a moment to recognize how lucky we are that we have bodies that support us in this practice. And even the things we can do, there's so many other things we can do that it's worthwhile. Think about the fact that we are in different spaces and still practicing yoga together. A great time to be alive. Even with all the craziness that's going on, there's so much good. And then make it personal. What else on or off your mat do you have to be grateful for right now? Notice a few of those images that come in. Notice how they expand the heart. And here we are in an even deeper space, an even better place to be. It's from here that we'll end our practice. And we'll seal it in with the sound of one. Taking a nice big inhale. We'll let it out through the mouth. Inhaling tone. Om. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Wonderful. Have a great day.
Thanks. That was great, Paula.
Yay.